one get as comfortable with bleeding as you have?
I've never really cared too much when it's happened. When I was a kid, I was hanging upside down from, like in at playgrounds, you get the metal bar things that you just kind of like hang on. I started hanging on those, and then I went to the monkey bars, and I was just hanging out. I don't know what happened. I was sitting there talking to my friends, talking to my parents. And I just remember all of a sudden my leg just slipped, and I fall like 5 feet, just cracked my head on the ground. It was fine. I guess I went home, and my parents were like, "Yeah, you're bleeding from your head." And I go, "Oh, okay." When I've gotten hurt, I've never been one to cry. It's just been, "Ow, that hurt." Hyperfixate on it, try to get it taken care of. I never cry or hurt too bad. Another example, I guess, would be, it was my 4th match ever. That was the first time I actually bled, and funny enough, it all leads into now. I had this match with this guy who people might know, Levi Everett. He does a Amish gimmick in the Midwest. Cool dude. But we were both very, 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 very green, and the guy who was booking the show was just kind of an asshole, and I didn't know what I was doing. But I get whipped into the corner, and Levi comes in and does a splash. I didn't know it, but the back of the turnbuckle had metal sticking out. So he splashes me, and my head whiplashes into the turnbuckle, and all of a sudden, I fell down, and the ref goes, "Hey." I go, "What? Hey, what?" There's red everywhere, and I go, "Oh." Wrestle, finish the match, go to the back, and someone said, "Don't bleed in matches, dude. It's not worth it." Now here we are.
It's up to you. The first word should be found. Whatever holds you back, I can't get it all. Tell me what you want. I don't know why, don't know why you're afraid. Tell me what you say. I don't know why, too late, it's too late.
So I grew up watching it when I was a kid. God, what was it? I remember being 2 or 3. You remember when you're young, you're that young, you don't remember much, but you remember flashes of images. I remember watching WCW when I was maybe 2 or 3 with my dad, little flashes of images watching that stuff. I remember when I was around 5 or 6, Hogan doing the heel turn, stuff like Bret Hart. Jericho. I remember when Y2J debuted. It was just always a part of my life. The same thing with South Park, Beavis and Butthead. I grew up in that era where MTV and the subsequent culture kind of made me. But then I kind of got into junior high and high school, and some things you stop caring about because you're more focused on that teenage angst, the quintessential teenage angst. It never goes away. Everyone has it. Every generation has it. Went to college, became a college swimmer, and eventually I stopped college swimming because I kept getting repeat little minor tears in my shoulder, and I couldn't raise my arm up here. It was just bad coaching. I had I was bulimic because I was worried about my weight because I went from being very fat to being very thin. I didn't want to get fat again, and it just added up to injuries and just not a good time. But I stopped swimming and I just focused on life and figure out more about what I liked and who I wanted to be. And I became friends with a guy named Nathan Errol, and my friend Nate was really, really, really into wrestling. And I didn't really know it until he goes, "Hey man, do you want to come to my Royal Rumble party?" And I go, "Sure." You know, like I don't care. I have nothing else going on. It's a Saturday. I'm a sophomore. I have no girlfriend, no job. I don't want to go play video games right now. Why not? Let's go hang out and meet some people. It was the Royal Rumble, the first one where Roman Reigns won. I picked Roman Reigns. I got the lucky number for Roman Reigns, and I watched him win. It was like, cool. And I was just hanging out with my friends, and I was like, okay, you know what? I like watching wrestling. Watching with my friends. I was never one of those guys to go like, oh, it's fake, so I don't like it anymore. It wasn't that. It was just, became focused on music and girls and trying to get laid and other stuff. But I was back into it. And I, we just watched. Graduated college. I really wasn't an athlete anymore because, I graduated college. Looking for jobs, and I just had to work all these really shitty minimum wage. And I'm not talking like New York minimum wage where it's like $15 an hour. I'm talking Midwest minimum wage when it was like $7.50. So not making a whole lot. But then I went to a house show in Fort Wayne, Indiana. It was AJ Styles versus Dean Ambrose. And I watched them in a TLC match on this house show with my uncle. And mind you, I wasn't doing anything. I didn't know, what I wanted to do. I just wasn't happy. But I watched them, and as the match ended, it just kind of like clicked in my head. And I was like, I want to do this. I miss being an athlete. And wrestling kind of changed more, at least in terms of the the standard WWE fare. Because once I got back into wrestling, I was watching things like Ring of Honor, New Japan. But like when I watched it, it all kind of clicked to me in terms of this is all the stuff that you've always wanted to do. Just it clicked in my head where I said, I'm going to do this. I looked at my uncle and said, I'm going to do this. Oh yeah, sure, you can do it probably if you wanted to. Blah blah blah. My uncle was probably one of the few people that believed that I was going to do it, and that's basically what happened. I worked at this job until I lost it due to an eye injury. That turned into me getting 2 or 3 jobs as I looked for a pro wrestling school. And I found one, Billy Rock's school, which was in Lafayette, which was like 30 minutes from me. It's not far. When I went to go message them to apply, it's closing this year in 2 months. Okay. What's another school? New Wave Pro, Terre Haute, Indiana. Okay, how far is Terre Haute, Indiana? No. 3 hours and 30 minutes away. Are there any schools near me? None that are reputable. By reputable in heavy quotations. Because the school I went to wasn't even like great. But it got me where I needed to go. But I said, you know what? Okay, fine. I messaged them. They're like, hey, it's going to cost this amount of money. I said, okay, I'm going to get 2 good jobs and have to work. And that's what happened. I saved up the money, and I would go one way to Terre Haute, Indiana, stay at my trainer's house, which is, I'm sorry, love you, Blake. Your house is a shithole, but you knew it was a shithole. I'd stay in his house, and I'd sleep on his dirty mattress, at the foot of his dirty mattress like a dog. It's because I didn't want to sleep anywhere else because it was fucking gross. And I would get up the next day, we'd watch wrestling, go train. Same thing until Sunday. Drive back 3.5 hours. Did that for 7-8 months. And then I debuted. And that's kind of how I got back into it. So it's very long-winded, but it all adds up to what is the answer.
What aspects of professional wrestling appeal to you the most?
So a lot of people just like wrestling. They're like, it's wrestling. That's why I like it. Obviously, that's a cool part, but it's not just because it's wrestling. I love martial arts. I love fighting. But even then, it's not as simple as that, because I think the best pro wrestlers, and I think if you concur with Effie on this, because Effie would agree, the best pro wrestlers like things outside of pro wrestling in terms of art and theater. I like film, I like video games, I like anime, I like animation, I like art. And pro wrestling rules, because it's an amalgamation of all of those things. It's a mixture of fighting, whether it be realistic or not, because it can be like goofy Looney Tunes kind of stuff. It's anything that you want it to be, as long as you make it make sense to the audience. And that's why pro wrestling rules, because I can go from Akira, who sits here on the couch as his girlfriend insults him and gets him high on magic mushrooms while watching stuff and playing games and hanging out with his dog, to being the scary, intimidating, crazy death samurai, death fighter that people know and love. And then COVID hit. Nothing. Silence. But people have been saying, on commentary and just tell me afterwards, like the things you do and the character you present in the ring, it's very honor bound. You're like a samurai. And I also, once again, I love like Rurouni Kenshin, regardless about the fact the author's a weirdo. I like stuff like Kenshin, Samurai Champloo, and things like that. And I was like, okay, let's come back from COVID with just something new and entirely that I can truly be happy with. And it took forever, because you don't just come up with a name off the top of your head. But I sat there and I was watching Blade Runner, and it clicked, and I was like, the Death Samurai. Because I didn't want to be the Death Match Samurai, because Asami Kodaka in Japan exists. And America has a very weird thing of, if you label yourself as like deathmatch anything, you're going to be stuck as deathmatch guy. And that's one thing people would always tell me was, you're going to get, what's it called, baby? You're going to get cornered, you're going to be pigeonholed. You're going to get pigeonholed as this thing. And I said, okay, as a marketing strategy and as a personal strategy, I'm not going to say that's what I am. Because you also look at like Moxley, you look at Callahan. It's Death Machine, Death Rider, Death Samurai, and I did that for a while, where I was the pure baby face, doing death matches, wouldn't low blow, wouldn't bite people, would just fight honorably. So it lasted for 3 years. But ironically, it was also a amalgamation of just how I felt. Like, by the time the Death Samurai ended, I was very tired. I was always the very nice guy, get stepped on, get pushed around, try to not put my toe out of line with people. This year, I've literally been like, I'm just gonna do what I want. I don't care. I am not subservient to anybody. I'm doing my own thing. And this character needs to die because this character keeps getting screwed over. This person keeps getting screwed over. This human being keeps getting screwed over. And I said, okay, it's time for him to die. And that's how that happened. It was literally because, once again, it was the Moxley and it was the Callahan thing. And my theme song is Fight to Survive. They always say he's a fighter. That's where it came from. It didn't come from anything else. I didn't take it from anybody. It's not like it's highly original to begin with, But that's the progression that we're led to here. And then obviously, like, the Death Maid thing was just a Twitch goal thing that is taking on a life of its own and is way too pretty for this world. Insert picture right here. So every match that Matt and I had has been a weird kind of a catalyst for myself. The first time we wrestled was at On Point Wrestling in January of 2020. there he put me over, and he just told me, he's like, "You're really good, kid." 6 months later, 7 months later, we wrestle again at ICW No Holds Barred.
Strikes at Dream. Oh! Tube to the head. What does Matt have in mind? Oh, sweet baby.
And he puts me over again in a death match this time, and he was supposed to win.
Center of gravity, but Matt Tremont using that strength. Wait a minute! Somehow flips him over. Get the fuck out of here!
And he said before we went out, he's like, "No, I'm putting you over." He's like, it's your time. Didn't have to. Oh, okay. And the rest of this match, and people were saying, I had a lot of crazy good matches that year, but that was one of them. People were like, that was match of the year quality, and that's where I got this number.
What the hell? What is this kid doing? He's climbing up to that platform. Tremont deep in the crowd. Oh!
That's where I got stabbed. The light tube. It hurt. It was like that deep. It was huge. Didn't go get surgery. Didn't go get stitches. I just let it heal. That's why it looks like that. But that's what kind of catapulted me into deathmatch superstardom, because we didn't wrestle again for 3 years. It was ETU, and that's when we went out there and we beat the absolute piss out of each other. But we showed that deathmatch wrestlers can put on a match without weapons and make it just as meaningful and just as brutal as anyone else can. He said, as with the IWTV belt, he said, "This is gonna be yours in one day." Because when I lost, it really, really, really hurt. I thought it was my time. I'd waited 3 years, 2020, I was the breakout star of the year. People wanted me to wrestle Warhorse for the belt. Was never even considered. Don't know why. It's like they wouldn't touch me for some reason. 2021 was the same thing. Had an amazing year. Wouldn't touch me. 2022, still going strong. They wouldn't give me a shot. I just wasn't in the cards. 2023, I finally get my shot, and I fell short.
So how you feeling, dude?
Like shit. Get headbutted over 40 times in one match, you're not gonna feel good. And somehow losing a title match that you've been praying for and fighting for 3 years is worse than any headbutt. I feel like shit. I just feel like shit from top to bottom, side to side. And 3D coming at you live, it's me feeling like shit.
Sorry. I'm trying to.
Just tired. And is it worth it? I don't know.
And it really stung. I don't cry after matches. I don't get that emotional. I almost did then. How much I wanted to work for that title, and I didn't get it. But when Matt said that, I kind of, said, okay, gotta keep going. There's tomorrow. Listen, I had a shot. Who says I can't get another? Then, a week later, we wrestled in Boston. I lost my friend, my friend Sean, Ref Sean, SBO, Sean Patrick O'Brien. And once again, Matt beat me. And with all that loss, that's, once again, a catalyst for change. I publicly said, the Death Samurai is no more. The Death Fighter lives. So every time I've wrestled Matty, it's been something as major has changed in my life. Ah, God. All the standard ones. Like, I grew up watching like Dragon Ball Z. You'd come home after school and try to watch it on Cartoon Network. Then it gets more to like Cowboy Bebop, all the Studio Ghibli movies, Yu Yu Hakusho, Zatch Bell, One Piece. I remember watching the original Fullmetal Alchemist. I thought it was really weird. I could list some throwbacks. Then there's more modern stuff like Madoka Magica. There's Fate Stay Night. If you've not seen Fate Stay Night, Unlimited Blade Works. It's probably one of the best looking shows I've ever seen. Berserk. All these things have kind of came up in one way or another. I'm always thinking of stuff. I just like how things are presented, and I like another one would be like Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh and things like that. The more commercial ones that kids would play the games for, but I really like the shows. I like the shows until like Yu-Gi-Oh GX was like where I drew the line. That was the last good show for Yu-Gi-Oh. Everything else has sucked.
Describe Akira in one word. What would it be?
Renegade.
MLW was definitely something I was nervous about. It was like August last year. I just looked at her one day and I go, "Babe," she goes, "Yeah." I go, "I want to get signed." And she looks at me and goes, "Yeah." I go, "Yeah, I think I want to get signed." Okay, well, you have to work for it. And God, what was it, 3 months later, all of a sudden, get an email. "Hey, this is MLW. We want to sign you to a 2-year contract." And she stops and looks at me and goes, only you could say, "I want this." And then it just falls into your lap. And I go, but I was going to work with them for a couple dates, and they sent out a thing and said, "Hey, we want to do this with you. We have an idea, and we want you to be locked down so that you can be with us consistently for the next couple years." You know what? What's the worst that could happen? You know, I'm just kind of treading water on the indies at the moment. Why not? And I did it. I signed, and I debuted in January. And it's truly been a creative and fun learning experience. I was never really a promo guy, and you, as someone who worked with Catalyst, have seen me when I first started cutting promos, like heavily for you guys. With my 8-month stint at MLW, how much my speaking has changed, the way I just cut a promo like basic out of nowhere.
And here's the difference between you and I. You are a basic, clean-cut, all-American boy. And I don't like you. I don't like you because you're too clean-cut. You're too nice, you're too pristine. This is professional wrestling. I've had to bleed, I've had to get cut up, and I've had to grovel, and I've had to fight from underneath to people to see that I'm one of the best fighting, hybrid, technical wrestlers in the United States. I've been to Germany, I've been to Australia, and they've seen the work that I've put out.
You know what? I'm not going to try to kiss ass and go with the flow of other people. I'm going to do what I want to do, and generally it's going to work out well for me. You know, like for God's sakes, this last week, I dressed up as a pink maid, and I looked really fucking good, and people are wanting to buy merchandise and stuff for it, and they want to see the maid character wrestle. Are you like, a lot of people, if I told them I was going to do it, they'd be like, why are you going to do that? That's stupid. Just fuck it. MLW's been a really great and fun time for me, and I've got a year and a half left so far with this contract, and I'm very excited to see where it goes. And just working with Raven has been just a great. Working with everybody there has been a great experience, because I'm working with guys, you know, not nobodies, you know, like guys like Lindsay Dorado, fucking like Raven, RSP, all these guys that are putting their knowledge on me because they see I can be something, and they want to help me get there as fast as possible.
What's it been like working with him? Like, kind of having him learn?
Great. I like mentoring younger talents. And he's a good listener, and he works his ass off. Very talented.
Raven told me with my promos so much. Now when I cut promos, he goes, "That was very eloquent." And I used to watch Raven when I was like 5 years old in ECW, him versus Dreamer. And here I am cutting promos with him, and he's telling me that I'm saying eloquent stuff. It ain't too bad. It ain't too bad. Short term is to make this not just, you know, a livable job, which I'm today, I could say I'm closer to it now than I ever was. But to make it to where I'm making money to save so that long term I can retire one day. I guess another couple more short-term goals would be, you know, if not just it being a livable thing, what's my only job besides that and streaming, is going to Japan, which I'm doing finally for a big Japan, but also getting a contract with a Japanese company and being the gaijin for that company. The gaijin. Doesn't matter if there's other people there, there's only one me that they're going to talk about. Because I know that wherever I go, I'm going to stick out. There's been a lot of people that have gone over there that I personally, you know, I'm not one to gripe, you know me, I'm not one to gripe. I feel like they went there before me and I thought it was bullshit. I still think it's bullshit. However, I'm finally going there, and it's not just, you know, it's cool as a, oh, he's a weeaboo. No, first off, fuck you. When I grew up, when I was a kid, I grew up in the middle of nowhere. I was the only Asian kid, you know, besides my siblings, but they weren't in school yet. I was the only Asian kid. I was the only minority, honestly. And it was not the easiest time, especially when you're surrounded by hillbillies. They gave me shit, you know, every racial slur in the book. They called me gook, chink, Jap, fucking chinky eyes, small dick, fish head. You name it, I heard it, man. They used to call me Chang, and that was my nickname through all high school, from like third grade up to high school. I was the only one. I was the only minority kid, and I really always felt so alone. You know, I used to hate being Asian just because everyone else hated me because I was Asian. What kind of thing is that as a kid? You know, you hate who you are because other people just don't like you because of who you are. I didn't realize that, you know, like 40 miles away was Lafayette, Indiana, and they had a huge Japanese population. But now I'm a South Korean Japanese white kid. And once I got out of college and into the world, and now that I live here, I'm just surrounded by people who kind of look like me. People who, if they see me, like, anytime I'm a Japanese wrestler or talent, they see me and they recognize what I am. You know, they're like, oh, you're mixed, or oh, you're Japanese. Tiger Tori recognized that when I was at the LA dojo for a week. He looked at me and said, you're mixed. Japanese, white? I was like, in Korean. He goes, yeah. So I didn't have a lot of like representation for myself. You know, I like Godzilla, I liked all those things, but I never think I'd go over there. No, there's no one that looked like me. And for years I just felt alone. You know, hated life, hated myself, hated who I was, hated things I couldn't change. Then pro wrestling happened. And I realized, no, there are Japanese wrestlers. There's awesome Japanese dudes, and there's beautiful Japanese women that are killing each other in this beautiful sport that I love. And when I decided I was going to be a wrestler, what I fell in love with truly was Japanese wrestling. And because I could see myself in it. And now here I am, finally 5 years later, because it was my big goal. Part of my big goal. Half of it's getting there. The other half is staying there. It's that important to me. Everything I've worked towards now has built up to this moment. And everything that I want to do for the rest of my career, this is the baseline. If I was to climb Mount Everest, this is the point where I would make camp and say, this is how we're going to get to the top of the mountain. That is Japan for me. It's everything that I think I need, not just, you know, just, oh, look, I got my Rivera jacket, guys. Oh, look, guys, I finally got the little stamp on my passport. something internal and spiritual that I need for myself. Because if I can go there and I can make it, and I can finally have a place that I feel like is home in pro wrestling, I have a place that's home in life. Because I've never really had one, it feels like. I've always drifted around. It's not just a country, it's not just something because of pro wrestling. It's something because for all of my life, I have been wandering, looking for something that looks like me, that I can feel in my heart. And I have not felt that. But when I'm watching wrestling, when I'm watching Japanese wrestling, when I'm talking to Japanese wrestlers and they're hugging me and they're talking about me, I feel something. And that's what we're living life for, is to find that something. And if I can't find it there, I don't know where I'm going to find it.
Show.
Yo, that's when I went there. We got there, tore down left. Got there, tore down left.
I had two off days, and one was supposed to be on the 31st. But they were like, "Hey, Aoki's sick, the strong champ, and he's on the DDT BGW show. Can you fill in?" I'm like, "Yeah, no problem."
That's cool. Yeah,
I'm like, "Yeah, I can do it, no problem."
You're back from Japan. How you feeling?
Feeling like shit. Haven't really had any days off, and back to it. But right now it's the non-stop cycle. Like I was at 8-9 matches in Japan, come back here, do MLW, then travel, back here, train. Now another show. What can you do?
Feeling good about tonight?
We'll see. My hip's a little sore, but gotta keep on doing the damn thing.
So have you ever faced Akira before?
I know.
Not in a singles match. We were in a four-way prestige.
I pull it out.
MD, are you using the trash can? No, I'm just asking if you are.
Larry, you say your hips fucked up? Your hips fucked up?
The doors be good. Those snipers on the ground.